Sheikh Abdul Qadir, he's talking about Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, rahimahullah ta'ala, who died in 561 after the Hijrah. He was born maybe 471. And he is the one who the Tariqa Al-Qadiriyah, they attribute themselves to him. Much of what has been attributed to him is not true. He has a grave that is worshipped today as we speak. He's from Jilan, which is a place in Iran, currently Iran, Persia. And he was, in general, he was accepted amongst Ahl Sunnah. He has a famous book called Al-Ubudiyyah. And Al-Dhahabi, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his biography of him, Sir Alam al-Nubala, mentioned that Abdul Qadir al-Jilani was Kabir al-Shan. He was considered to be from the great scholars. And there are some things that are not acceptable from his statements, but a lot of that has been attributed to him falsely, as he said.
Sheikh Abdul Qadir, rahimahullah, referred to this and explained that when it comes to matters of al-qada wal-qadar, divine decree and preordainment, or qadr, many people would not even touch the topic. But a small window has been opened for me on this issue, says the author of this book. And I sought to deal with the decree of Allah with the help of Allah, for the sake of Allah. The real man is the one who faces up to the decree of Allah, not the one who meekly submits and gives into it.
This here refers to, Shaykh al-Islam is still talking about the two different types of what? Haqa'iq, realities. So he talks about the what we're calling the existential reality, what exists, and that's real, everything that exists. And then al-haqa'iq ad-diniyya, or the religious reality. That is, those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded. And the fact that there may be things that exist that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like, even though He's the one that brought them into existence. And that was what was just being talked about. So understanding the difference between those two things. That is, that not everything that is in existence Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with. There's two different realities. There's the reality of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created, and there's the reality of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded. And those two may not be the same. They may not coincide all of the time. So he says that Shaykh Abdul Qadir refers to this, that, and explained that when it comes to matters of al-qada wal-qadar, many people would not even touch the topic. But a small window has been opened for me. This is what Abdul Qadir says, rahimahullah. He says, فَنَازَعْتُ أَقْدَارَ الْحَقِّ. Now I sought to deal with the decree of Allah. So I resisted the decree of Allah. نَازَعْتُ أَقْدَارَ الْحَقِّ بِالْحَقِّ لِلْحَقِّ. So he says that I have resisted the decree of Allah, seeking so he says, I resisted the decree of Al-Haq. And we know Al-Haq is what? One of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bil-Haq, seeking assistance with Al-Haq, yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the teachings of the Sharia, Lil-Haq, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is, with ikhlas for Him in all that I do. Okay? So he says, Naza'tu aqdar al-haqqi bil-haqqi lil-haqq. And then he says that the real man is the one who resists the decree of Allah, not the one who gives in and conforms to the decree of Allah. Now,
yeah, that's all right.
Let's come.
Scared the academy.
Like, a few points come up here. The first is that he says to matters of al-qada wal-qadar, and in general, those two terms are synonymous. Al-qada and al-qadar are synonymous, except that many of the scholars say that when they're mentioned together, And when they're mentioned together, that al-qadr refers to what has been written, and al-qada refers to the acts as they happen. Refers to the acts as they happen. But as many of the scholars have said, including Al-Khattab and others, rahimahumullah, that really one of them requires the other. There's no qadr except that it's going to happen, even if we consider that to be the qada, and there's no qada, meaning the things that are actually happen, except that it's been written. So there's no point of arguing over the issue or going into a lot of detail when we talk about the terminology itself. He says the real man is the one who resists the decree of Allah, not the one who meekly conforms to the decree of Allah. Notice that a lot of times when qadr is talked about in the books, it's referring to al-qadr al-makruh, that is, those things that have happened that one dislikes. So we can look at it from this perspective. There are things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like shar'an. Allah, like He says in the Quran, Wallahu la yuhibbu al-fasad. Allah does not love fasad. Allah does not love that a person leave off the salah. Correct? Does it happen? Yes. Okay. If we see somebody not praying that should be praying, what should we do? We should advise them. We should tell them to pray. So what just happened? You're resisting the qadr, right? Which is that person not praying, with the qadr. By telling them to pray. And Allah Azza wa Jal made that the reality for you. We'll get back to that in a bit. Okay. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like sins. A person sins. That was the qadr. How do you resist that qadr? By making tawbah. By repenting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are things that happen that Allah doesn't like. You resist them. You tunazi'hum. In what way? By doing what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does love. Let's look at physical realities and make sense. Did Allah decree for people to get hungry?
Yes.
Do you just sit there and say, well, that's what Allah decreed for me? Or do you resist that by doing what? By eating. And you resist the decree of thirst by what? By drinking. You understand? So the real man is not the man that just sits up there and gives up when something happens that is disliked. Whether that is disliked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in terms of the sharia, and we understand that it's disliked, or whether it is by way of calamities. When a person, and calamities or difficulties that come to a person in life are of two types. There are difficulties about which you can do something, and you can do something about that. And there are calamities that befall that you have no control over. And as Shaykh al-Islam will mention in a bit, in the way of Ahl Sunnah, with those things that we have no control over, is that we submit. That's where you conform. That's where you accept it. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed me or this particular situation. And you accept it. So, a relative dies. What are you going to do about it? Bring them back? There's nothing you can do about that. That's where you have to exercise patience. That's where you conform. Okay? But there are difficulties that come to a person, right? Where you can do something about it. You lost a job and you need money. And you're just going to sit up there and wait for something to fall out the sky? Or are you going to try your best? You accept that you lost your job because you have no control over that anymore. That part you accept. But you resist that decree by going out and doing and taking the means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made permissible for you to find gainful employment. So this is what is meant by resisting the decree with the decree of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Understanding resisting the qadr. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu departed for Sham, which we call Syria, and when he reached
Sham is greater Syria, right? So there's what you might call the Levantine, the Syria, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, all of that's considered to be Sham. Right?
And when he reached Sadr, the commanders of the Muslim
Sadr is basically where Tabuk is now in northern Saudi Arabia. So he hadn't actually reached the border yet of where Sham is. Right.
Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiallahu anhu and his companions radiallahu anhum met him and told him, that is told Umar, that a plague had broken out in Sham. Called for me the elders of Quraysh who immigrated, the Muhajirin. I called them, and they gave a unanimous opinion saying, we advise you, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we advise you that you should return with the people and do not take them to that place of plague. So Umar radiallahu anh made the announcement, I will ride back to Medina in the morning, so you should do the same. Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah radiallahu anh, wallahi uhibbuhu lighaya, said to Umar radiallahu anh, are you fleeing from Allah's decree?
This is what Abu Ubaidah radiallahu ta'ala anhu said to Umar. This is in Sahih Bukhari.
And Umar radiallahu anh said, would that someone else has said such a thing, Ya Abu Ubaidah. And Abu Ubaidah,
he says to Abu Ubaidah, I could accept that question if it was coming from other than you. Like you are from the Kibar Sahaba. You're basically he's kind of shocked that this question is coming from Abu Ubaidah, right?
And Abu Ubaidah is one of the 10 promised paradise.
Right.
Abu Ubaidah, yes, we are fleeing from Allah's decree to Allah's decree.
نَفِرُّ مِنْ قَدْرِ اللَّهِ إِلَىٰ قَدْرِ اللَّهِ. So this is how the Muslim is not a fatalist. You know what I mean? In the sense that you just submit to whatever your circumstances are. We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our choices, knows everything that will happen in the creation, that He wrote that down and that He willed it and that He created it. But that doesn't mean that we sit back and just wait for things to happen. That's not the way the Muslim, and it's never been the way that the Prophet ﷺ taught his companions. That was not their actions don't indicate that at all. Those calamities that befall, poverty, sickness, and fear, we accept them patiently, but also what? But also if it's in our ability to do something about them. So there are many illnesses that there's a known cure for. You accept the fact that the illness has come to you. You bear that patiently. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested you with that. Alhamdulillah. Okay? You're not going to go up there and complain about Allah to His creation. Why did Allah test me with this? No, khalas. There's a cure for it. Alhamdulillah, you seek that cure. There are some illnesses, however, that what? The known cure. There's no known cure for that. Person bears that patiently. Bears that patiently. Poverty. A person, subhanAllah, had all of their wealth taken by somebody that they trusted. And then that person died. And they had no way of getting that money back. What are you supposed to do? Cry all day? Accept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decree. That was decreed. That is what a person bears with patience. And if a person has the ability to resist, then they resist. Now. And if a person has the ability to resist, then they resist. Now.